Hello and welcome to Coaster Strike. My name is Tom, and in today's video I'm going to be going over 10 different features I think would be really cool in a Planet Coaster 2. And so, with that ridiculous intro out of the way, let's begin. These are all obviously fictional, they're based off of basically nothing that Frontier have said. They're just things that I think would be fun and really great to improve the game in any possible sequel that Frontier might release. And if there's one in particular which you really like, be sure to comment down below and like the video for the algorithm so that perhaps Frontier will see and who knows, maybe they'll decide to implement it in the sequel and you'll all be happy. But with that out of the way, let's begin. So the first one is multiplayer. Now, this is a feature that I think would be really cool because at the moment, if you want to collaborate with someone, you have to share your account and both be logged in, or you have to upload it to the workshop, new name, download it, upload, download, upload, download, upload, and it is just mayhem. So it would be a really great feature if you could add someone to the park, and then you could both play in the same park at the same time. And even if it worked in the same way that Minecraft Realm does, where you have to pay for a multiplayer world, I think it would still be worth it, and it would really be helpful for the community growth. Number 2 is virtual reality or VR. Now, people have been talking about this for a long time, and a virtual reality feature in Planet Coaster would obviously be awesome. I had an app on my phone once, I think that was called Ultimate Coaster, and that had a VR feature, and it was just so much fun. Because even if you're like sat on your sofa in the living room, if you put the VR goggles on, and it's so immersive, and I think it would be really great. You could experience your coasters for yourself, see what they're really like to ride, and get a better sense of scale as well. I think because at the moment, being a flying ghost around the park, you can't really tell how big things are. So I think that would be a really useful feature as well as fun. Number 3 is water parks. Now, in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, one of the special features that they added was water parks, which meant that you could build custom water slides in swimming pools and all stuff like that, which, again, people have been wanting this in Planet Coaster for ages, and it would be a really fun feature. There's not much more detail to go into there, but just the ability to have guests have like a special water park near your park, I think would be really great. Which would also fit into number 4, resorts, which oftentimes when you go to a theme park, they've got like a special section, or not all theme parks, but mainly the bigger ones, have got a resort, which is hotels, swimming pools, jacuzzis, stuff like that. And they have hotels in the game at the moment, but there's not much that you can do to them. Like you can add a fake swimming pool or something. But if you wanted a swimming pool on the roof, there is no way to do that. It would have to be like a fake one, and it wouldn't look great, and there would be no guests in it. But that would be a really cool feature if you could have whole resorts around your park to really just level up the realism and the fun and the time that your guests spend there. Number 5 is finding a specific section world for your park can be tricky because all of the pre-made ones, the deciduous, the alpine, they're all pretty similar in terms of what land you get. It's just a solid block of land. There's no river or anything, and that's about it. But one thing I think Frontier may be able to implement, I don't know how far of a stretch this is, but they might be able to implement a special feature which allows you to go onto Google Earth or Google Maps, and you just take a little square out of Google Maps, and it'll sort of build a world based around the terrain. Obviously, it wouldn't be able to be perfect, but it'd be close enough. So you could have a river running through your park, or it could be on the beach, or it could be an island in the middle of the sea. But I think that would, again, be extra realism and super fun, and add a bit more variation to the settings for your parks. Number 6 is zoos. Now, this is something that maybe not many people will agree with or understand, but at Chessington World of Adventures, which is a theme park near me, that started as a zoo and they built a theme park around it. but like particularly on Tiger Falls, which is the log flume there, you've got these awesome cages with live tigers in. So you've got sort of a zoo and a theme park mixed in. And obviously, it's mainly a theme park, but seeing all these animals is also really cool and a super awesome feature, which I think would be quite nice in Planet Coaster. Especially if you're trying to rebuild, I don't know, Chessington or somewhere. It would be, yeah, it would just, again, add a bit more depth to what you're able to do in the game. Number 7 is a path painter. Now, you'll know if you've played the game for more than 10 minutes that the paths in this game are quite tricky to get the hang of. They're fiddly and they don't ever quite do what you want, and they're just quite messy. And one way I think that Frontier could get past this is by using a path painter tool. So in a similar way that you paint the terrain in the game, you would have a path painter in which you'd be able to paint where you want paths to be, and then they would form, and they would look like normal paths, but they would be in the specific shape that you've painted. It would obviously stick to the terrain and all of that. And I think that would be a really neat feature to add to making paths more precise, because at the moment, like, a lot of theme parks don't just have walkways, they've got these big plaza areas which are quite hard to build in the game because they're not always perfect squares. So it'd be good if you could just paint the area and then there would be a path there. I think that would be quite a cool feature. Number 8 is some better quality graphics. Now, the graphics in this game are amazing, particularly with the coasters and the rides, but things like the guests and some of the paths and textures, they're just a bit flat and unrealistic. The guests, particularly, are the ones that they don't look amazing because they're basically just these potatoes with some black dots on them, which is a bit odd. And it doesn't look amazing. And obviously, this is because at the moment, every guest has their own AI, which I would want them to keep, but they just don't look amazing. So, if they could find a way to bring down processing power while still having good looking, realistic guests, I think that would be a really great feature. Especially when you're riding the coasters and they stick their hands up in front of the camera, because that's when the illusion sort of disappears and you realise it's a game, not real life, which is a shame, I think. Number 9 is some real life influences. Now, at the moment, the game's got all these cool brands like Chief Beef and Gulpy Soda and all of these, but the only problem with that is it means it's sort of set on another version of Earth, or I don't know what planet it's set on really, but it's definitely not our Earth, because at the moment the coasters have just got their names. There's no Intamin, there's no B&M, there's no RMC, and all the models have got their own names. Now, obviously, I realise there's a problem with licensing and boring stuff like that here, but if they could find some way to include all the real model names and the manufacturers as well, I think that would be quite a cool feature, just for enthusiasts particularly, to, spice it up a bit. I also think that you could have a special realism mode in which everything's real time, the time in game is the time in real life, and instead of like just building coasters, you have to build it in a 3D software, which would work the same way that this does, but you'd design it and then it would be like a few months before it actually got built, but you'd see all the structures going up and stuff like that. I think that would be really, really cool, as you see just the entire park growing like a real park does. And, you wouldn't be this sort of floating figurine anymore. You might be, but that would probably be when you're designing the park, and then you could walk around the park as yourself, the manager or the designer. I don't know what your role is, but I reckon that would be a lot of fun. Although, this is almost the opposite of the next feature. Not completely, but I think having no real limits in the game, so as to what the track can do, as to where paths can go, as to the terrain, water, and particularly the height limit. Because at the moment, even if you are trying to be realistic, if you want to build some coaster which goes down Mount Everest is going to be 1,000 feet and no taller, which isn't exactly realistic. It's a bit of a shame. I feel like they could have it. They could just remove the limit as well as land limit, because Obviously, this doesn't count for console because it's got the Oswald Eugene counter, but on PC, the area can get a bit tight, and if you want to build the most ridiculous park ever with 40 coasters and 100 flat rides, you would be able to if you had unlimited space, which links back to the Google Earth thing, where you would be able to, build in this unlimited space, and you could choose how big that is. If you wanted to, you could select all of Africa and build across Africa, build a theme park. But yeah. But there you go. That is 10 awesome features that could go to Planet Coaster 2. I doubt any of them will. They're all pretty unrealistic as to what might happen. But if Frontier do see this video and, if they can think of a way to implement any of these features, I know that I and the rest of the community would be very grateful. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments. Like the video for the algorithm so that Frontier can possibly see it. And I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.